Hi everyone, welcome to Tom's Manshed. Okay, so not a review this time, not a review of a tool, but a review of a breakdown service. Now, I'm going to try and keep this as short as I can, but warnings now, it will go on. There is quite a lot of waffling involved. It will go on. So as usual, I'm going to put the stripe down below with it annotated all the way. If you want to jump straight to the review on Start Rescue, I'll put the timestamp down there now, here. If you whiz forward to that, that'll get you to the review of Start Rescue. But I'm going to begin with a recap of the unbelievably diabolical service I had from RAC last year. It was about 9 months ago. Now, I did a highly detailed breakdown, pardon the pun, of everything that happened, why the car broke down, where it broke down, the full day, minute by minute almost, my calls to the RAC and how long I was waiting and everything. If you haven't read that and you want to waste 45 minutes of your time, click up here. Like I say, it goes into great detail, but I am going to recap it here and try and keep it as brief as possible to put it into context what service my daughter has just had from Start Rescue compared to the service I had from RAC. So first of all, it was the incident that happened 9 months ago that made me make that video and made me leave the RAC. I'd been with the RAC for about 13 years. I got it mainly for my kit car. Again, I go into a bit more detail in the other video, but here's a quick picture of it. It's called a Grinnell Scorpion. It's a three-wheeler. It's 25, 26, 27 years old now. It's been pretty reliable, but every time I've rung the RAC, it's because it's been a breakdown in that. Over the 13 years, about 5 times. 2 little minor things, wires come off, couple of the recoveries. Now, 3 or 4 years ago, I'd been to a car show in it, and I broke down reasonably local, about 10 miles from home, on the way home in Lytham St Anne's, with a fuel pump failure. I rung the RAC, and after 3.5 hours, they hadn't turned up. So I arranged, again, I go into more detail in that video, but I have an A-frame for it. I arranged for my daughter to come pick me up and tow me home. It was only 10 miles, and then it was tow-homeable because I'd given up after 3.5 hours. But I thought, I'll stick with the RAC. I'll give them another chance, because when they come out to actually do the repairs, if they can repair it on the roadside, the engineers I have found are great. They're pleasant, they're friendly, they are skilled, they know the stuff. I've had one guy renew a clutch cable, getting right down into the low down in the dash, putting a new inner clutch cable in. The same guy doing some wires on a fuel cutout switch. If they can repair it there, great. The problem is with the RAC when it comes to recovery. And there, they just fall down flat, and their customer care is worse than zero. So, like I said, that was about 3 or 4 years ago. I stuck with them. But last year, I had a breakdown in the Scorpion on my way to a meetup with some friends for the weekend. Accommodation paid for and everything. I ended up losing all of my money for the accommodation. Again, more detail in the other video if you want to go into it. But to cut a long story short, about 120 miles from home, on one of the hottest days of the year, with the motorway chock-a-block surrounded by trucks, the motor went on the radiator fan. And sure enough, I could actually hear it go. I heard it seize up and go. And sure enough, the temperature went up and up and up. And it's getting into the red and the steam pouring into the car. Engine's running a bit funny. I thought, it's going to seize the engine here. And like I said, I'm still on the motorway. Luckily, traffic started moving. I managed to limp off the motorway into like an industrial estate, a shopping sort of precinct thing where there was luckily a Whole Foods. Cruised in there, water and steam boiling everywhere. And I rang the recovery services, RAC. This was at 5:30. I went into Whole Foods, filled up my water bottles, topped all the radiator up and that, but I didn't run the car because the radiator fan had seized and it would just overheat again. So like I say, I rung up the RAC. I told them about this. This was 5:30 on a Friday afternoon. It wasn't bank holiday. Wasn't Christmas. It wasn't snow or any ice or anything like that. It was just a normal Friday afternoon. And they said, so I'm going to have to go and remind myself the sort of timetable of things. Again, I'll condense this down, but you need to know how bad RAC is compared with the service we had last week from Start Rescue. Chalk and cheese, hence we put in the good, the bad and the ugly. The good for Start Rescue, the bad and the ugly for RAC. So yeah, I rung the RAC, so like I said, this is 9 months ago, at 5:30 p.m. And they told me then that the ETA for the truck, and I explained to them there's no point in sending a guy to repair it. He cannot fit a new radiator fan. He will not have one on things, especially as of a BMW motorbike. I'm going to need recovery on a flatbed truck, or even towing, winching up the front. You can easily tow it in neutral. I was told it would be 9 p.m, the ETA. That's 3.5 hours. I explained to them it's an open top vehicle. I'm, basically in the middle of nowhere. All these shops are going to shut soon. The barrier shuts at 8 o'clock. I had to push it out onto the road. And then I'm on double yellow lines, like I say, in the middle of nowhere. I've no protection. I've no hood. I've got my waterproofs with me and my helmet, but there's no roof on it. It's just more motorbike than car. But I was told 9 p.m. I says, well, fair enough. I'll have to wait till 9 p.m. And when you ring, the attitude of the call centres is, this was this last time. And again, if you've had great service from the RAC, well, good for you. I'm glad. But this is the last 2 times I've had this sort of service. And the attitude is, they just don't give a toss, really. I rang up. You ring up, you press button 1 if you've broken down, button 2, button 3, and then they ring you back if you've broken down, which they do ring back reasonably quick. But they told me this ETA 9 p.m. I explained the situation, but they said, yeah, that's it. You can then go on the app, you can go on to get an ETA of when it's going to be. So I let it get to sort of on a few hours and clicked on ETA. And every time you click on ETA, it says 30 minutes. It's a generic, useless message. It's not a live ETA to when they are coming. It's just, we'll be there within the next 30 minutes. It's expected in the next 30 minutes. It's totally useless. So, ETA was stuck at last update at 6. Yeah, then when you do it, it says the latest update is this, that, and the other. No matter when I rung, 7:30, 8:30, it said the last update was 6:30. So it doesn't update itself. Not once in all this time did they ring me back. I always had to ring them. There was nobody in the control room saying, oh, well, he's been waiting a few hours. Let's give him a ring back to reassure him. Nobody. So I rang up for another ETA, and you click a thing and it says it'll ring you back. And somebody actually rang me back from a Manchester number and said they've got a local garage, because most of the AA, RAC, whatever, they have very few of their own flatbed trucks. They usually call a local garage. We've rung Richford Services, and they'll be coming to pick you up. This Richford Services rang me up at 7:10, 10 past 7. So I've now been broken down about nearly 2 hours. They rung me up to say it could be up to 11 p.m. 11 p.m. So I rang them. So I got this number. It was on my phone from this Richard Services. I rang them at 25 to 10 at night. Like I said, bear in mind, I've been there since 5:30. I thought I'll ring them direct. It's pointless ringing RAC. I got no answer. No answer whatsoever. So I gave it 5 minutes, rung them back. And then they did pick it up. And they said, it's still going to be 11, but we'll ring you if it's going to be anything after that. So I rang them again at 5 past 10. Halfway through, this is RAC again. Rung RAC at 5 past 10. Halfway through the conversation, it just got cut off. I don't believe this. They rang me back. Give them that. It might have just been a mistake, but they rang me straight back. This time from a Walsall number. So the call centre must change operation at a certain time of the night. At 10:15, said that he would ring Richford Services and get them to ring me back, straight back. Nobody did. Absolutely nobody rang me back. So I then rang back again at 11:45. This is 11:45 now. Bear in mind, like I say, I'm on this industrial estate where Halfords was, but I can't park there because the barriers is locked at 8 o'clock. So I had to push it out onto these WLIs. It's now getting to nearly midnight, and the local boy racers are arriving in their Scoobies and GTIs and things. A lot of engine revving and shouting and all that. To be fair to them, they were a friendly bunch. They came over and asked me what was wrong. Could they help? I said no. I says, but I'm giving up now. All this time, my daughters are on the phone as well, getting really, really worried, saying, Dad, do you want us to come and get you? I said, there's nothing you can do. So I thought, I'll hang on. But I rang again at 11:45. Told he was on his way. So, and I didn't get ring back. So I rung this Richford Services, and he said, oh, this is now nearly 12 now. Oh, it could be 87 more minutes, another hour and a half. That would make it 1:30 in the morning. Well, at this, I gave up. I absolutely gave up. And I thought, I'm going to have to make my own arrangements. Now, like I say, it had overheated due to this radiator fan seizing up. By this time, it's now like midnight. It's dark, obviously. I thought the motorways are going to be quiet. It's cooled down a heck of a lot. If I've got forward motion on the car, I should be all right. As you probably know, your radiator only kicks in standing traffic usually, or whatever. If you're driving along and you've got that flow over it, it's usually okay. I thought, I'm going to have to risk it going home. Like I said, refilled the car with water and filled all my water bottles, which I always carry from Halfords. So I rung the girls, my two daughters, and I says, look, I'm going to come home. They said, well, we'll come out, Dad. I says, well, don't come to where I am now, because I'm setting off now. And we arranged to meet up halfway at Hartshead Services so that they could follow me home just in case it overheated. Anyway, it was a few miles to the motorway. By the time I got onto the motorway, it was still way under normal. I met up with the girls at the thing. They followed me home. No problem. It kept under normal all the way home. I arrived home at about 4 o'clock in the morning. No problem. So that was my experience with RAC. Like I say, loads of buttons to click, loads of automated messages, loads of irrelevant ETAs. When you do actually get through to somebody, they give you the impression that they just do not give a toss. Well, we're doing our best. And, there's just no care whatsoever. Not once during this 8 hours or whatever, did they ever ring me back. So like I said, I set off on my way home. When I got to Hartshead Services, then I rang up to cancel. I said, forget it. There's no point coming now. It's been over 8 hours. So I then cancelled it. I hadn't heard anything before that. They hadn't rung me up and said, we're there, Mr. Ross. We're come to pick you up and you're not there. So they hadn't even arrived by that time. So when I complained to them about this, and like I say, I lost my travel lodge accommodation because I hadn't paid in the van. You can only cancel that up to 24 hours ahead anyway. So I lost all that and ruined the weekend, obviously. I wrote to them and I just got this generic letter back, and a really annoying bit saying, I disagree with you, Mr. Ross. If you hadn't have cancelled, we would have been there. And I get really mad in my other video about this, because the way he said that, if I feel that we would have got to you if you hadn't cancelled. Well, I only cancelled after waiting for them for 8 hours. So they're saying they would have got to me. When would they have got to me? Another 8 hours? Another 2 days? How long can I stay there on my own in an open top car in the middle of nowhere with no toilet facilities or anything? I'd already had to wee in a bottle I carry around, sat in the car, covered up. You daren't sort of like wee behind a bush in case you get arrested or whatever. I'd already had to do that. And they've got the audacity to say we would have got to if you hadn't cancelled, which is, really rubbing it in. And all they offered was 50 quid. A 50 quid cheque. They couldn't even pay it back onto the card that I'd paid the membership with or into my bank. It was a cheque, so I had to go to the post office to do that. So that was it then. Stuff the RAC. I just let it lapse. I wouldn't have even rung them if it had broken down before it lapsed. So you may be wondering what the RAC actually charge for this service. Well, let's have a look now, and we'll compare it to Start Rescue. At the end of the good bit coming up, the Start Rescue bit, I'll re-emphasise their charges, but let's have a look at both their websites and see what they charge for the same cover. So I was on this, the extra in the middle. The basic one, which is £10.45 a month, is only a recovery up to 10 miles. 5 call-outs a year, roadside assistance, blah, blah, blah. I was on this one. Recovery up to 10 miles isn't much use, really, unless you never go 10 miles from home. If you go on biggish journeys, you need national recovery. So that's it, national recovery. 5 call-outs a year. That's plenty for me. I never go out in the Scorpion more than 5 times a year. And if you want the unlimited call-outs and home, again, I'm not bothered at a home. I can fix my car at home or whatever. It's £19.95 a month. So the one I was on, this is now £15.60 a month. That's 187 quid for national recovery, 5 call-outs a year, no home start. If you want the home start one, that works out £19.95 a month, 239 quid a year. 239 quid a year, right? I was on that one, so I would now be paying. I got a reduced thing because I renewed it. It was about 120, I think. But if I was going to go on it now, for the service that I've just described, they'll charge you 187 quid. Let's have a look at Start Rescue, and just listen. Keep tuned in, or zip to the bit about that to see what a difference in service they give. So this was the one me and my daughter have joined now. Again, the personal one. Like the last one, it's personal. I'd sooner have it, instead of the vehicle, because I drive 2 vehicles, I'd sooner have it cover the person than no matter what vehicle I'm in, even as a passenger, it will be covered. So that's the one I always choose. So that's a Start Rescue one. Same as RAC, no home assist, but nationwide recovery and local recovery, and unlimited call-outs. You were limited to 5 with the RAC, and that is 93 quid a year, as opposed to 187. So exactly half. I think they must have done it that. 93 is half of the 186 in it. The RAC is 187. If you want to add the home assist, so if you break down at home, they'll come out to your house. It's just another, it's up to 108, whereas the RAC is 239. Double 108, you got 216. The RAC is more than double for that. And you don't get any extra. What you get, a free battery worth 42, yeah. There'll be in and out clauses for that as well. And something to do with like MOTs, something. A free MOT worth up to 50 at selected RAC garages. I wouldn't trust any of them. So yeah, they're the 2 levels of cover. I'll go over that again at the end of the other bit. So yeah, double the price for half the service. Well, not even half the service. So I immediately started looking for other rescue services, and I put an appeal out at the back of that video. Has anybody had any good experiences with any others? Like I said, you will get some that said, I rang the RAC, they came and picked me up, they recovered me home, they were there within an hour. The odd time it will be, but for me, twice on the trot, that is it. I'm willing to give them a chance once, not twice. And it's not just that, the delay, it's just the attitude, the no care. Surely, like I say, in call centre, it'll flag up. This customer has now been waiting 6 hours. Give him a ring back. No, none of that. No care whatsoever. So I started looking around for others. Many, many, many years ago before that, I'd been in the AA, and I can't remember. I think I waited a bit for them. But for some reason, I ended up having to pay for something they said was free. So that's the reason I went with the RAC. But even before that, I was in Green Flag, I think. But after reading everything, every single review of every single recovery service, there are some bad points. Some people have had some bad experiences. There's nothing going to be 100% fantastic. But the one I chose was Start Rescue. It was called Start Rescue. I spent a week or more every day reading loads and loads and loads of reports, not just on Trustpilot, but loads of other stuff. And that seemed to be getting the best reviews. Now, it's one of them things, isn't it? This sort of service that you never know what it's going to be like until you've used it. And it's a sort of thing that you don't ever really want to use. You're willing paying your money and never ever using them. But when you do come to use them, you want it to be a good service. So that was 9 months ago. I joined it. My daughter joined it. And my daughter, a week ago, broke down, and this was our first experience of it. And you'll see now, I'll go into the breakdown of my daughter's, and I'll go through a bit of a timetable of what happened to that, and you'll see what difference it is. So at this stage, like I say, I will really recommend them. I'm going to go into high detail again on the service we got from them and what happened. Now, I don't really care what price I pay, as long as it's not ridiculous, but I'd sooner pay 200 or 300 quid a year for a great service than 50 quid a year for a crap service. But so far, this experience with Start, it's the opposite way. You get it's half the price and 10 times the service of RAC. So this is what happened to my daughter last week with Start Rescue, sort of minute by minute. So my daughter, she has a Toyota Corolla Verso. It's a 7-seater. She needs a 7-seater because she's always running my other daughter and all her kids around. And it's a great car. It's a lovely car, regularly maintained. Engine runs as smooth as silk. I think it's a 2009, model. And it's been really, really great. Well, she was running her son, my grandson Oliver. He'd had quite a serious appendix operation the week before. To cut a long story short, his appendix had gone what you call necrotic inside, which means it had died. And that can be pretty dangerous, and it had started affecting his bowel and things. So he had to have an emergency operation to remove that. He was in hospital a week, recovering and walking slowly and eating properly with a drain in and that. And she was running him back to our local hospital, Victoria Hospital at Blackpool, on the Monday for a 9 o'clock check-up to have some of his plasters removed and see how it was. So at about 8:40, something like that, she's almost at the hospital, right at the roundabout, and she hears a loud bang and the car just no motion forward. The engine was still running, but there was no drive. Releasing the clutch, it just wasn't moving. I'll show you exactly now. Here is where she broke down. So couple of pics here. So like I say, you can see here quite an old car, but as you see, in reasonable nick, so well maintained. And you can see just about the roundabout that she broke down on just behind where the trees are and that black car is a pretty busy roundabout right up to the hospital. And like I say, luckily she got passing motorists came to her assistance and pedestrians and pushed her into just onto them double yellow lines, awaiting me and awaiting the recovery. And like I say, she said she heard a loud bang. When we got it back to the garage and went to see what's wrong and everything, this is what had gone wrong. No wonder she heard a loud bang. So yeah, as you can see there, pretty drastic failure of the drive shaft. That's the picture the she took at the mechanics, it wasn't a clutch that had gone, it was a drive shaft had snapped in half. I'm going to ask any mechanics here. I'm curious about something, and this will test if anybody's actually reached this far and is still watching. So I'm going to ask any trained mechanics a question here, because I'm, like I say, I'm quite curious about something. So yeah, just like I say, a test of anybody who's actually got to this bit and hasn't fast forwarded it. If you could put in the comments, if you know the answer to this, you're a trained mechanic or whatever. It's been puzzling me, and I've asked a few people and they don't know. When she said, oh, the drive shaft has failed, the garage has told me the drive shaft has failed, which was actually better than the clutch going. That cost a 307 quid to be repaired, labour and parts and everything. The guy said it would have been about 450 for the clutch, so luckily it was a drive shaft. But what puzzles me is it's a front wheel drive car, and obviously, I don't know, very basics, but there'll be a drive shaft coming out to the right-hand wheel and one to the left-hand wheel. Obviously, it's just one shaft that's broke. How come she didn't have drive on the other wheel? She had no forward drive whatsoever. I would have thought if one drive shaft has failed, the other wheel would still be going, or be maybe pulling her to the right or the left or whatever, but she had no forward travel at all. I thought it was going to be a prop shaft to the back, but it wasn't. It is a front wheel drive. Is it something to do with like a diff? If one wheel is up on a diff and it's spinning, there's no drive to the other. So maybe you can put me at my misery and answer that question there. So anyway, back to the review now on how great Start Rescue were with this problem. So luckily, been surrounded, and it was like rush hour. This is a Monday morning, 20 to 9. It's pretty busy around, and some motorists stopped and some pedestrians, and they managed to push her off the roundabout onto and this was, like I say, it's right next to the hospital, basically, on the road, course, Winnie Hayes Road at Blackpool, just in there on the double yellows near the bus stop, out of harm's way. So she obviously rung me, says, Dad, I've broken down, big loud bang. I said, right, ring Start Rescue, tell them to recover it to my house, because there's hardly any parking. She's no drive or anything to park it on. I was thinking, park it up my drive and then we'll arrange for somebody to come and get it to a garage. And I'm coming. I'll be on my way. Wait for me to get there. That time in the morning, I'm still in bed, being retired. I'm not an early riser. So I leaped out of bed, got dressed, got in my car, zoomed down there. It's about 4 or 5 miles. Pulls in behind her car. And I waited with her car until the recovery service came. Meanwhile, she walks to the hospital. It's just probably about a few hundred yards to the hospital entrance, walking slowly with my grandson. So I was prepared, it's Monday morning, a bit of a rush hour. I was prepared it's going to wait a bit. She rang Start Rescue, and it's similar to RAC. You've got to use an app. So it says, I have broken down, and you get through. But she got through straight away and talked to a lady, and she said she was really, really nice. English accent, not hard to understand. I don't know where the call centre is based, if it's UK based or not, but she was really, really pleasant with her. She explained the situation. She said, my dad's on my way and that. So I told her to tell her it sounds like the clutch has gone. It's not going to be repairable at the roadside, and they will need a truck. But the woman, policy with them all, they usually send a truck, a repair van, and only them can authorise a recovery truck to come. But anyway, they said, we'll do that. So I gets there, and I'm waiting about half an hour. I rung my daughter up, see how they were going on. And she says, yes, she's rung back. And she said, so they rang her back. Start Rescue rang back and said, right, we've booked a local garage, like they do. They're on the way. He should be in touch to do that. She says, well, my dad's there now. Can you ring me dad? She gave the lady my number. She immediately rung me, this person from Start Rescue, and said they're on the way. Hopefully they should be there reasonably soon. So after about half an hour or so, something like that. They rung me daughter again and asked if, and said, we've spoke to your dad, but don't worry, there's somebody on the way. They rang me back and gave me an ETA. And within sort of minutes of that ETA, she rung up and said, oh, he's on his way now. He should be there in the next 5 or 6 minutes. And he was. And this is now 2 hours, just 2 hours. Now, that's okay by me. It's rush hour. It's a Monday morning. It's in a busy place, like. So I think two hours is okay. So she rung it at about, say, 22:09. And it was sort of like about 22:11 or so when the guy came. Now, again, the guy was from a local garage. He came with a flatbed recovery truck. He said, I explained what had gone wrong. I told him, I didn't know it was a drive shaft at the time. I told him it's going to be clutch. He got in, sure enough, he couldn't move it. He says, well, I told him it was going to be a flatbed truck. He, like I say, he was in one. He says, well, I'm not authorised to recover it until I ring them up. He says, now it's going back to such an address, which he still had as my address. I says, no, I've changed that now. I forgot to say this. Meanwhile, while I'm waiting there, I rung the garage that we were going to have it repaired at and said, is it okay if we dump the car there, get it recovered to there, because there's no means of us getting it from our house to the garage. And the garage said, yeah, just leave it here, no problem at all. I rang my daughter to tell them to ring up, start recovery, and tell them to change where they were recovering it to this garage in Fleetwood, Horton's garage in Fleetwood. The recovery guy, when he came to me, still had the old details. So I told him, no, I says, I've rung Start Recovery up and we've rearranged it for that. So he's a bit, He rung them up and sure enough, they confirmed, yeah, it was going there. He knew where the garage was and everything. So yeah, he winches it on the truck and goes down there. So from making the first phone call, my daughter, to the recovery truck coming and towing the car away, was about 2 hours. And in that 2 hours, they rang us back. We didn't have to keep pestering them for ETAs. They rang us back. They also sent my daughter these 2 messages. So you can see these are the 2 text messages they sent my daughter. One at 9:04, one at 9:55. Don't forget, it's just sort of like literally minutes after she's rung them these. It broke down at about 20 to 9. She probably rung them at about sort of like 10 to 5 to 9. And 2 ones saying it's going to arrive at 10:04, and then the next one saying at 10:48. And that was pretty accurate to when it did actually arrive. So, yeah, that's more than RAC did. If you want an ETA off them, it just says 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, even though it isn't going to be 30 minutes. It's never properly updated in real time. It didn't with me anyway. So, yeah, much, much better all round. So all the time, keeping us informed. And, oh yeah, I forgot to say that the final time she actually rung back was when the truck was here. She says, there's 6 minutes after she'd rung up saying it's 6 minutes or so away. She rung back and says, yeah, he's here. He's winching it onto the back now. She says, oh, right, that's great. Anything else I can help you with? I says, no, that's all gone really, really well. And yeah, that was it. So basically, that's our experience with Start Rescue. Immediately answering the phone, not getting tons and tons of stupid ETA, pointless ETAs, which mean nothing, like you get with RAC. Them actually ringing back, being worried about it and ringing back without us ringing them. Keeping us informed all the time and only 2 hours from ringing to being towed away at a busy peak time, Monday morning, 9 o'clock-ish. So that's the difference between RAC and Start Rescue. And like I said, RAC, for that service they gave me, to get that now, they want 187 quid a year. We paid 93 quid from Start Rescue. So I hope we're not going to need them again, but and who knows? Next time we ring them up, we may be waiting loads of hours. But I can only tell you my experience as I find it. And like I said, the RAC one I had last year wasn't a one-off, because the last time I'd rung them before that, which was 3 or 4 years previous, they didn't turn up again. That's 2 non-turn-ups on the trot. Not good enough. And like I say, it's not just that, it's the attitude of the staff in the call centre, not the mechanics. Don't get me wrong, like I said, the guys who drive for them are friendly, skilled, seem to enjoy the job. It's the call centre and the lack of getting a recovery. So forget the repairing it by the roadside. They're obviously okay at that. But if you need to be recovered, be prepared for that. And I'm not the only one. Some people have waited a lot longer than 8 hours. Some it's been like the following day. So bear in mind that's the experience I've had. So I can definitely recommend Start Rescue. So please no comments saying you recommended Start Rescue and yet they treated me awful or whatever. I can't control the way, but I can only tell you what my experience is. And yeah. So hopefully this has been of some use to you. And if you are thinking of changing service or getting a recovery service booked, and it's well worth it. If you can imagine what it would cost you yourself ringing. A lot have said, oh, just ring a local garage and that, and they'll come out. Yeah, they will. You know, you go through your Google local recovery garages, they'll come out. To drive me 120 miles back home, that would have cost a lot of money. So yeah, well worth having some form of a breakdown cover, even though hopefully you'll never need it. But yeah, Start Rescue, I can definitely recommend. Okay, so hopefully I shall see you for my next review. I have a couple in, like, back to tool reviews. I've got a strimmer. I've just bought a strimmer today from Lidl's. And I've got a torque wrench to review from Amazon, and a battery operated cordless ratchet driver as well. So once again, if this has been of some use to you, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, it would be fantastic. The more the merrier. Click this little picture here of the shed, and I'll catch you for one of them upcoming reviews very, very soon. Thanks for watching this again. Bye for now.